Hey everybody, you listen to the Katana Podcast with me, Invisible Katana. Over the weekend, we had a really big series in The Legend of Korra, and on Friday it went off. They had like a midnight premiere, I guess, midnight Friday, and over the weekend, it just really blew up. It was like, this big show is ending. It's the second part to the Avatar franchise. It's only the second thing we've really had from the show, not including the comics that really just continue the first part of the series. But this is a really big show, and it ended really well. I personally love the ending. I know that, I saw some videos. It was like, the best ending or, series finale of like 2014. And is it like the best show ever and stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool. And whenever a show ends that I really love, it always makes me think about other series finales, whether they're good or bad. Fortunately, for the most part, mine were all pretty good. I haven't really seen a show where the series finale ended and I was like, man, I hated that. But like the only thing I could think of, for me at least, would be like Scrubs and the way that ended, because they had the season finale, which was like the last season for Zach Braff. So it was like the series finale. They even showed it that way. It was like, that's a wrap on Zach Braff and all that stuff. So it seemed like it was a series finale. And I was so confused when I watched it. I was like, I kept hearing season, but you do all these like time skips and all the stuff they did for Scrubs. And, I thought it was a series finale, and I didn't know at the time that they were coming out with, new Scrubs, as some people called it. And technically that was the, series finale, because it got canceled. So that last season technically was the season finale for Scrubs. So that's like the only one in my experience that was really bad. But for the most part, I've had some really great ones. We had, Breaking Bad, I really loved. Um, just a ton of really old shows that I can think of. Like the other one that came to mind was that '70s show. I love the way that one ended. I thought it was pretty good. And, of course, with this being, Legend of Korra series finale, of course you compare it a little bit to The Last Airbender and stuff. And I thought they were both good. I did personally enjoy The Last Airbender finale more. And I think that is due to the fact that, admittedly, it just has it's literally twice as much content. It was a 4-part finale for The Last Airbender, and for The Legend of Korra it was a 2-part finale, which, I guess they could have done it if they wanted to do like a 4-part thing. They could have easily said that, but even the episodes themselves didn't really lend themselves, except for the last two, they didn't lend themselves to each other like the other ones did. I could have easily seen it as a 3-part finale with the episode we got the week before last. I could have seen that, and they could have kind of made it like a 3-part finale because it was all in the same place and everything. But for The Last Airbender, it was just like, this is what's happening. It's this one moment, and these are the 4 episodes together, and it was just really well done. And I still love the ending. Like I said, it was a great ending. I really loved it. There are, of course, things that I think everyone kind of wanted. If you don't watch Legend of Korra, you wouldn't know even who these characters are, I guess. But for those of you who do, the big thing that I wanted was pretty much the same as everyone else, and that was like, I want to see some of the older Avatar members, like the old Team Avatar, or what's going on with the Fire Nation. And once again, for anyone who doesn't know, in The Last Airbender, the entire Fire Nation was the enemy. It was like this entire nation was basically taking over the planet, and they're like the polar opposite of that now, because that whole issue ended in The Last Airbender. So in The Legend of Korra, everyone's fine. It's like individual people are issues, but it's not like an entire nation is trying to take over the planet. So a really big thing was like, what does the Fire Nation look like? How are people blending in? How are the other nations blended in? Decades after this has been solved. And unfortunately, we never really got that. We got to see the current Fire Lord for like one episode. We got to see Zuko a little bit in the last season, and I was really hoping we get to see him, because he actually did fight in the previous season, but he is 3 years older than he was in that last season as well. So with the age that he's at, 3 years can make that much of a difference where he wouldn't just go in fighting. But I was really hoping to see him. I didn't expect to see anyone else, but I was like, I'd love to see him in there, because we've actually seen him fight. So we know he's strong enough as the older Zuko that he can still fight. But that was still a 3-year difference between season 3 and 4. But I really loved it. I thought it was really well done. Of course, like everyone else, I do hope that we get a continuation of the series in comic book form, if they do like a parallel with the Last Airbender comics and then the Legend of Korra comics that continue on after the series. that would be great. I think, I think pretty much everyone wants it. Everyone wants to see what's going to happen, what's going to go on after the series ends. Everyone kind of goes off to live their life, but just like anything in real life, the big issue is solved for now, but there can be an issue later on. There could be a smaller issue that still has a pretty big story, or, comic book wise, it could have, four, 2 or 3 books or something like that. But I'm definitely excited. I can't wait to see what happens with the Avatar universe, both The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. I know, I believe The Last Airbender is in like its 4th book, or I guess they're heading into their 5th. I don't know if they finished the last one they did. I haven't read it yet. But those comics I really enjoy. They've had, like I said, I think they've finished completely 4 separate stories. So those are really cool. One really big thing that a lot of people want from those as well is animated versions. If for whatever reason we were fortunate enough to just get like little movie versions of every comic book story, and I don't know if that'll ever happen. It would also be a little bit difficult with certain people being older compared to when they actually acted the characters originally, especially with The Last Airbender. But I would love that. That would be amazing if we got like little movies for The Last Airbender as well as The Legend of Korra. I'd be a bit more excited if it was The Last Airbender, and I think most people would, not just because it's like, oh, I like The Last Airbender better, but because The Last Airbender is so much older. Oddly enough, The Last Airbender is old enough to kind of be nostalgic when you think about it, because that was before we even had really HD, so it's kind of weird to even think of that remotely. And then Legend of Korra came out in HD in the very first episode. It's like, it's weird to think that somehow this show that I really, really love, still an amazing show, was the show I watched so long ago. It wasn't really like, HD wasn't even that big of a thing back then. So it's weird to even think that. And of course, that doesn't mean it was like forever ago, but it is much longer. So getting that new style, that true HD animation for The Last Airbender would be amazing to see, because we had some great animation in The Last Airbender, of course. The animation itself improved throughout the series, which is just, typical of any animated series. Once it gets really going, it's like, all right, this show's gotten pretty popular. Here's more money to draw a better looking cartoon. But it would be unbelievable to see those stories redone, and then we get like full true HD and stuff like that for The Last Airbender. It would be really fun. I would love that. And if they had some stories that did kind of link up The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra, like the true last days of Aang or something like that, I think would be some pretty amazing stories. If they end up doing that, I doubt they'll do like The Last Airbender leading all the way up to The Legend of Korra comic book wise, but if they did, I think that would be absolutely amazing. They'd have to really do like some amazing stories all the time. It would be weird, because at some point there has to just be no issues. They can't just literally be every single book. It's like, man, we got to fight another villain. It would be weird that they just fought all these villains all the time. But if they somehow did that, that would be really cool. I would love to see it. I'm sure a ton of other people would as well. But I really did enjoy the series finale for The Legend of Korra. I thought it was really well done. It looked unbelievable. That was like some crazy movie quality stuff that they got for the last 2 episodes, and I really enjoyed that. They always, it's like any series, like whether it's American or like an anime series, when it's like those big moments, they always do that. Like Naruto is a huge example of that, or like any of the big 3 anime is like, here's that super epic fight, and then the animation is just like miles beyond what it normally is for the regular episodes. But I love that. Like I said, I really do want to see more from the Avatar universe, because it's really, really great. I'm excited to see what other storylines do come out for The Last Airbender, and what we will be getting for the future of The Legend of Korra, because I'm sure that they won't just continue The Last Airbender and kind of leave The Legend of Korra just at the end of the series forever like that, because it does have a huge following just like The Last Airbender. It might not be as big, because a lot of people did kind of drop off The Legend of Korra, unfortunately, and they're really messed out on 2 great seasons, especially season 3 with like an amazing villain. He was like a deadly team of villains, and also some really great music throughout like the entire series. But they both have a really huge fan base, and people do want to know what happened with Korra, what's going to happen with all the characters when they move on with their lives, how are they going to grow up, and all these other things. So I'm definitely excited to see what comes from the Avatar universe as far as The Legend of Korra, more than The Last Airbender, because we really don't know. Like, we already know what's happening with The Last Airbender. They have those comics coming out. I'm not sure how frequently they come out. I think it's like every couple of months, and it's just like each story is like 3 or 4 parts. But we already kind of know what's going on in that line of work, so we kind of just have to wait and see, like, are we going to get shorts? Are we going to get stories? What's going to happen? So I'm definitely excited. Love the series finale. Love the show. From day one, I was super excited, like everybody else was. So, I'm just really, really curious as to what we're going to get in the future for The Legend of Korra. And like I said, the Avatar universe, if they would possibly do a comic where we get a nice blend between The Legend of Korra as well as The Last Airbender, where they kind of skipped a lot of years, and then it's like adult Aang and, adult Team Avatar and some of the villains they go up against, and we get to see the young versions of like Tenzin and Bumi and Kaya and stuff like that. I think that would be really cool too, and we get to see them grow up and learn how to master their bending, or see how Bumi grows up to be crazy, stuff like that. So I can't wait to see what we get out of that, and then kind of tying this whole series finale thing together with the other series finales, and how some are good, some are not so good. Like, fortunately, like I said, I've tend to see, or most of mine have been good season finales. Maybe some of the really old shows I can't remember, like kids shows, probably didn't have the best series finales or anything like that. I don't know. As far as like Power Rangers, I think probably had a pretty good one, because Power Rangers was just like, holy crap, it's Power Rangers. So that, I don't remember it, but I'm sure I enjoyed that at the time, and a bunch of other stuff. But a series finale is always like an interesting thing, because it's like you can't wait to see how the story ends when you're experiencing a story, and then you get to the end and it's like, crap, you wish you could kind of just go back and be like, I don't want it to end. And it's always that interesting balance with any story, really. And it's whether it's animated or it's just, a written book or something like that, or a comic book, which kind of is a written book. But it's just one of those things. And like I said, it does make me think about other shows that I miss. Also, other shows that I wish got proper endings that were just canceled, like all the canceled shows. That always makes me think of that too, where it's like, man, I wish that show did get an official ending and it didn't just drop off like season 1 ended on a cliffhanger and then it got canceled. So technically, the series finale did end and it was just, unresolved. So I always hate that type of stuff. And I'm sure you guys have a bunch of shows where it's like, I wish I got to see that. And I think I've done like 2 videos already on just how much I wish certain shows would come back. They're just cartoons, live action shows, all sorts of things where it's like, man, I wish they would just bring that back. I wish they would somehow get another chance if it just came back. If that would be amazing to me. But unfortunately, that type of stuff just doesn't happen. We live in this age where it's like, if a show doesn't get enough support, it's dead in the water, especially with comedy shows. I think comedy shows more than anything will get cut in a heartbeat. Like a drama show or something that's actually like an hour long, those tend to have like a couple extra episodes. It's like, all right, you guys got canceled, but here you guys can kind of play out what you guys have left. For comedy shows, they cut those things so incredibly fast. It always amazes me. Like, the show will be on maybe 3 weeks, and it's like, all right, it's not working. And they just won't even bother showing what they have left. It's just like, nope, cut that crap off. And then they just put in some filler, like, we already know this show works, and they just put that in the time slot. And I always thought that was just crazy how fast you can cycle through a comedy show. And, the same does go for drama shows. They do get canceled, and it's just that type of thing. It's gone, but they replace it really fast. And sometimes, like I said, they do let things go out for like the last couple of episodes. They might not be able to finish their actual story, but they'll at least let them finish the last couple of episodes. And that's how we get a lot of cult TV shows. How we get stuff like, unfortunately, anything Joss Whedon kind of did for Fox, I guess. But we get stuff like that, and we have TV shows that are really popular. And one that was fairly recent, I think the most recent for me really, is The Tomorrow People, which a lot of people enjoyed. I loved that show. I thought it was really ramping up. I was super excited. I was like, I hope it gets a season 2. I was really worried it wouldn't, and unfortunately, it didn't. And, it kind of ended on a really cool cliffhanger. Some cool stuff happened, because that's what happens in the season finale. And then, questions, and that's pretty much it. And now there's nothing. like the Tomorrow People is just gone. I haven't really looked into it to see if they've made it into a comic or anything like that. I don't think they have. If they did, please, and you happen to know about that, then please put that down in the comments below. But I love that show. Unfortunately, it did get canceled. The only upside to that is like two of the people from that show, Robbie Amell is now on Flash as Firestorm, and I don't know the actress's name, but she played like one of the main leads. She was like the female lead for the series. She's actually going to be in Flash later, so I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, it's still not the Tomorrow People, but once you get into a show that you really like and you really appreciate the characters, you tend to appreciate the actors as well, because they're acting out the show well. So it's like, okay, at least I get to see this character have work again, so I have like a weird form of appreciation there, and I can be excited about that at least. But series finales always do that type of thing. There's another great show, Nikita, that it was one of those rare cases, and I was so glad that it at least got the opportunity to finish the story. Unfortunately, the final season was cut short, but they got to finish the series out with like a 6-episode season, and it was really good. It was really well done. I enjoyed it, and it was like, I wish it could have been a full season. I wish the show could have just kept going, because it was an amazing spy show. It was probably like the best spy show we've had in years, honestly. And it had a female lead, and we rarely ever get like spy show female leads, so that was just another great thing about it. And Maggie Q is a great actress. I loved her in that show, but it got canceled. But I loved the ending. It at least got to finish its storyline, like I said, and it was just one of those things. Like, it sucks, but at least CW kind of gave it its props, and they let the show finish out, and we got to see a full story wrap up in the final season. That was definitely really good. But I definitely want to know what you guys thought about the Legend of Korra finale, if you happen to see it. If not, then just other series finales that either were really great to you, or other series finales that were really, really bad to you. Like, there was something that disappointed you. I know a lot of people were incredibly disappointed by Dexter. I never watched Dexter, so I would have no idea. I know what happened. Like, I won't even spoil it in case you are watching it, but sorry if you didn't know that. A lot of people are disappointed by the finale, but just put your comments in the comment section below. Try not to spoil it. Just say what show it is, and if you can vaguely say, like, just say it disappointed you because they didn't do this or that, but try to keep it vague if you can. The next topic I want to get to is actually just being out of school. Like, I'm out of school now. I have, I guess, 2 weeks or so before I have to get back into classes and stuff. And right now, all I'm trying to do is just put a bunch of stuff on my channel. That's like all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to enjoy my time off, enjoy the fact that I get to just not go to school a lot, and ultimately something, and this is like a minor thing, although I guess it's not too minor, but I realized that I spent a ton of money on gas, way more because of school. Like, in the summer, I had way more money when I would just come to work. It's like, all right, come to work, I work, and then I leave work and I get paid. And then you spend way more gas when you have classes, because you go to classes not every day, you go to work and stuff like that. It's like, this really, really sucks. Like, it's the craziest thing. Like, I'm spending extra money on gas, spending extra money, of course, just to be in the stupid school, because you have to pay for classes, which is dumb. But I'm out now. I'm glad I'm out. Like, there were like 2 good things that came out of this entire semester for me. And honestly, there were like 2 videos I just recently put up because they were final projects that I did. And I was like, well, I took the time to make actual videos, so I'm going to put those up on my channel. Those are like the only things I even appreciated the entire semester. And I took some pretty cool pictures in like my photojournalism class. And I have like a cool photojournalism book that looks pretty nice. And that's about it. Those are like the only 3 things that were really good as far as being in school this semester. But I'm so glad I'm out. It's going to suck to go back, but for now, it's always great to just be out. I'm currently in Michigan, so if you live in Michigan, then you know what happened last year, and like our whole crazy just Arctic tundra of weather that we had last year is like the opposite of that. It snowed barely at all so far this winter. I guess it's technically winter. It has to be technically winter by now, but it's barely snowed at all. There hasn't really been any icy roads or any crazy crap like that, so I'm loving that. As much as I love winter, like, winter has always been my favorite season because I like the snow. It just, you can get snow days as much as it kind of has a balance where it's like a snow day is great, but at the same time it can be sucky like the next day where it's still really bad but not bad enough to like close the school. Even with those balances and all that stuff, I always loved winter, but last year was just like devastating. It was just like so much snow. It wasn't like, all right, we got our pretty crappy days here and there, but you get to just enjoy the snow. It was just like snow and snow and snow, and when there was no snow, just a ton of freaking ice, and it was insane how dangerous the roads were. Like cars would be spinning all the time on the freeway, especially if you're like on one of those really big highways and not just like here's a little freeway here, but like an actual highway that goes from one state to the next state, something like that. Those could be incredibly dangerous, even with them just being wide open and the sun beaming right down. Still never know, especially like under bridges where the sun doesn't really hit as much. All sorts of crazy crap happening, but I've been really glad. I know there are a ton of people who have been like ecstatic about that for sure, where we haven't just been drenched in like a polar vortex again, which has been great. So that's just like an added bonus. Like as much as I love the snow, it's more like fall right now. It's a little bit colder. Like some days are colder than others, and I was kind of worried. Like, man, it's getting super cold. I'm gonna have to start like wearing my skull cap and stuff because I'm still wearing like the little Back to the Future cap that I wear. And most days that's actually fine. Like I can go outside in that, and I don't worry. Like I put it on. It's like it's not that cold where I need my skull cap. And there are some days where I've had to do that, and other days, for the most part, other days where I didn't. And it's just really, really nice. Like just having a slightly warmer winter compared to last year is just, well, it's not even slightly warmer, but just an unbelievably different winter compared to last year. It's definitely great. It's a nice little icing on the cake compared to what we had last year. And then, like I said, being out of school, always excellent having a vacation. I can't wait till summer vacation, of course, because then I'll be out for months. And I'm just lazy. I hate school a lot because it's not doing anything for me. But, I'm still trying. But for now, I'm glad I'm out. I'm able to just relax and, I guess the holidays and stuff. I've never really been huge on holidays. So honestly, the biggest thing for the end of the year for me has never been like, oh, Christmas is coming. Honestly, it's just like I get to not be in school. That's like that's a gift in itself. Like just 2 weeks away from stupid assignments that I'm gonna forget and stupid crap that isn't gonna help me at all in life later. Silly stuff like that. I'm just glad to be away from. But it's just some of the stuff that happens. It's where we go and just dealing with school, and then fortunately get to have breaks in between. And I think I'm hearing like a bunch of fireworks going off right now. It's like a lot of bumping and stuff, and I'm hoping it's fireworks because even though it's cold, I've just been fireworks for like the past, I think, 2 weeks. I've heard fireworks outside, and they're like super loud, of course, because they're fireworks. But it sounds really close this time. That's why I'm not too sure what I'm hearing. But I'm so glad I'm out for school. Of course, I'm sure a lot of people listening, well, not like there's a lot of people, but for some of you listening, I'm sure you guys are happy to be out of school too. And, with the past couple of months and what I've been doing with YouTube and trying to like do this podcast and actually start something and really make a name for myself outside of just doing stupid school stuff that's going to take, even more years than I expected because I switched majors, unfortunately. Outside of that, just doing this, having the free time to do it, and having, like right now, I have like some new equipment. I got like a really good new camera and stuff. I'm really excited to have this time. Even if I don't end up filming during these 2 weeks, I have like a good 2 weeks to just sit down. I can relax. I can be like, all right, I want to do this. I want to do that. And I can just like write scripts and stuff. And then, if I do have the time, if I end up writing a bunch before I film anything, I could, be okay with that. Like I have the time. I can write scripts. If I finish, I could try to get my friends in because they'll just have work like me, no school at least. You can find some way to work around that. And I have just a lot of time to actually do what I want, which really has all been taken up by school because you spend, an hour and a half a day in school, if not more. And I just have mine kind of split out between the days, so that's the only reason I had that. But, you spend an hour and a half, maybe you know, 3 or 4 or something like that in school a day, and then of course you have work, and then you have like homework because of the classes and all that crap. It does take up a lot of time, and it's really hard for like me personally. It's just because I have like the worst setups. Like I don't really have any good setup to pretty much do any of the stuff that I want to do. I want to do like gaming videos, and it's hard to do those because I have like the worst room ever at my dad's house. It's honestly, the walls are paper, the glass is made of plastic. Like you can hear cars go past my window as if the window's just wide open. They'll be on the road, and it'll sound like they're just the window's just wide open, and they're just going right past, and it's insane. And then there's nowhere at my mom's house I could possibly do that, and all this crazy crap. And then it's just difficult to do stuff when I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, how can I at least make this work? And then I also have to balance that with not really having a bunch of time because of school and homework, and then work, which really I much rather have all my time be taken up by work, because at least then I'd be making money instead of losing it to, credit hours and stuff like that. But I'm just really, really glad to finally be on vacation. I'm glad that not a ton of snow. Michigan, not an insane Michigan winter this year, not yet at least. I don't know exactly how January is going to go, but for now December is almost over, and it's not that bad, not crazy at all. People aren't freaking out trying to get water and losing their minds like it's going to be the end of the world and stuff like they were doing last year. People were like going nuts over water. Like, if things close down for a day or 2 days, you'll survive. Plus there's snow is water. It's harder to get, I'm sure, because you gotta like scoop it, but you'll survive. It'll be fine. So people don't have to freak out and deal with all that stuff. Not nearly as cold, not as rough on cars. I'm sure people who have like older cars, crappy cars like I do, I'm sure aren't nearly as worried, because I'm super freaked out as to how things are gonna go once it does start snowing, because my car really, really sucks, and I'm not too sure how it's gonna handle snow this year, snow and ice, because it was okay last year, but it's been a significant downhill battle for my car throughout the year. So I don't know how it's going to really handle the snow and ice by the time it actually does get here. So I'm a little worried about that. I don't know about other people, but if they're like me, then I'm sure they're just as happy. Like, it's just another reason to be happy there isn't really any snow or ice on the ground, because the car will at least work. There's going to be traction. There won't be any crazy flip outs or anything like that. So just multiple reasons to be excited right now, and I really can wait to get back to school. I don't even want to go, of course. I think most people don't, but for now I'm excited to have this free time and be able to do all the silly videos and at least get the concepts down and start writing my scripts out and all that extra stuff. But I'm just happy to be done with school, especially with the finals I had. And I had all production courses, which is why I had the 2 finals that I had to work on, and just everything was a project. It was just like project after project, and I thought this year's going to be pretty simple. It'll be fun. The last couple of semesters have actually been far more entertaining than my early ones, because it's actually stuff that I do at least enjoy. My production courses are pretty fun. I get to work with some good editing programs. Well, I work with Avid. I don't know if any of you know that. I personally hate that program because it has just a bunch of stupid issues where, trying to splice stuff in, it's like, oh, I overwrote it, and then just all this extra stuff that I don't like dealing with. But I did get to do some cool things. I learned some stuff about it. If I can somehow steal it from the school, that'll be great. Those are like the only couple of things, and I did enjoy those, like I said, and it was fun, and I thought it would be fine, but those projects really destroyed me. I was in over my head towards the end there because I was really freaking out. Fortunately, everything did work out the way I wanted it to. Not exactly the way I wanted it to, but I did at least finish all my finals, so that's the main thing, and I got passing grades, so that's all that really matters. But getting those production courses, I was like, well, it's going to be fun, learn some stuff, and it just drove me nuts during some of the times where the projects just really overlap. Like, I would just get them all in the same week. They'd be due the same week, maybe I'd have a test as well, which I did for two of the courses. I had like three projects due, and for two of the projects, the same or like during different weeks, I had two tests as well. So it was like, holy crap, this is insane. But that was like one, I think there was like a good 2.5 weeks where I was just losing my mind. Like, I don't know if I'm really going to make it or not. But fortunately, I did. I'm out. Don't know what to expect for next semester because I'm, of course, going into even more advanced production courses, which is a little scary considering how crazy things were this semester. But it's kind of what I have to do. It does help me learn some stuff, some cool effects and just filming techniques and things like that, which, of course, I need because I'm getting into more video-based stuff with my YouTube stuff. So I am excited for that. But for now, I can just relax, be free, work, go home, play some games, and hopefully make some good gaming videos for people, and also hopefully write some good skit-based videos as well. But I'm definitely glad I'm out of school for now. Of course, if you guys have any, just really big stories that you guys want to tell about your semesters this year, or if finals were just devastating for you this semester, you can share your feelings here, of course. But I'm going to cut it there. I'm really rambling in this episode. My only real focus was, of course, the Legend of Korra thing. And after that, it was just like, I'm glad I'm not in school. So sorry I spent like, I don't know how much time actually on me just not liking school. But that, once again, I think I mentioned this before, that is kind of the point of a podcast, just kind of ramble and go on. But thanks for listening, everybody. Of course, I do want to know your thoughts if you watched the Legend of Korra series finale, what you thought about it. If you could compare it, what did you like better in this series finale compared to the Last Airbender series finale? If there are other shows, like I mentioned, good or bad, that you kind of want to share your thoughts on, by all means do that. And like I said, for the school stuff, or if you do happen to live in Michigan, how do you guys feel about this insane winter vortex? Or if you were involved in the winter vortex, I know it wasn't just Michigan, but it was just like that's where I am. I'm in like Detroit, and I kind of move around, in some outlying areas, and just everything was just snow. So if you experienced that, whether it was Michigan or some other state, I definitely want to know what you guys think about having a much calmer winter so far, at least, because I highly doubt it'll be as terrible as it was last year. But I do want to know what you guys think. And of course, thanks for listening. If you guys have any subjects that you want to hear me talk about, nerdy or not, you can of course put them down in the comment section below. And like I said, thanks for listening.